Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 2018 Doctor Who DVD, Blu-ray, and Target Books Collection Overview. Alrighty, so we're going to be going through the collection Doctor by Doctor. So each video is going to feature a different Doctor. So starting at the beginning, this one's going to be all about the first Doctor. So all the DVD sets I have, any Blu-rays related to the first Doctor, I've got a couple of VHS tapes, and all of the Target novel adaptations of First Doctor stories. So let's get to it. The Doctor Who Collection Overview, today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Okay, so what I've done here, this is a little bit different than how I normally have things laid out on the shelf, as you may have noticed from the previous shots there. Basically, just to kind of keep everything together and to keep the overview of the collection stuff moving along, I've decided I'm just going to use this shelf as the display shelf to show all of the stuff that we'll be talking about in that episode of this overview. So this is all of the First Doctor stuff. So let's take a look. We'll start at the end here. So first up, I like to keep this at the beginning of the collection because, well, it's an adventure in space and time, which is the wonderful 50th anniversary dramatized, drama-umentary all about the initial creation of the show and stuff like that. And this is the Canadian DVD release, which was one of the first home video releases, I believe. It's got a lot of nice extras on there. And I basically bought that because I had no idea that a few months later we would actually get the Blu-ray edition, and so I just kind of kept both of them because they got different covers. They're very nice. In terms of contents, they actually have pretty much the same extras. The Blu-ray here has the movie on a Blu-ray, extras, and on a DVD, and then it also has An Unearthly Child. Now that's just a plain presentation of the story. There's not really much in the way of extras on there. So if you want all of the extras that go with An Unearthly Child, you basically want the next set. Just give me a moment here. I'll just give you a quick look at this. I'm not going to take all of them out and show you the disc. I'll just kind of give you an idea. See, this is just the movie and some extras on the disc. So the Blu-ray set is definitely more robust. It has everything that's on here, plus it actually gives you the first story, which is pretty cool. So next up we have The Beginning. Now this is the re-release of The Beginning, and it was originally put out in a box set, which was 2 keep cases, one of which had 1 disc, I think. Or no, it was 3 keep cases, I think. One for each story. But anyway, so this is stories 1 through 3, and it has a condensed version of the sadly missing story number 4. Now, of course, they do have all the audio from all of the missing adventures, and they do have a lot of photos and sometimes some clips and stuff like that. So essentially the condensed reconstruction here of story number 4, Marco Polo, is just kind of a truncated version made from the existing audio and any photos that they had. So this is the first 3 stories, An Unearthly Child, The Daleks, and The Edge of Destruction, and has quite a wealth of extras as well, all about the making of the show and the creation of the show and how it all started and stuff like that. So it's a great collection of early Who, and gives you a good look at the origins of the series as well. And then next up, we have story number 5, The Keys of Marinus, which I always really enjoyed. This to me feels very much like the old school movie serials and such, and it's a lot of fun. Lots of great extras on there. All of these DVDs are just loaded with extras. Here we have the Aztecs Special Editions. This is a re-release of the Aztecs with more extras and improved picture quality over the old edition. Quite nice indeed. This is actually a really deluxe edition. This also includes all that exists of story number 18, Galaxy 4. They have 1 complete episode and about a third of an episode, and then a bunch of clips and stills and stuff like that. So they put everything that they had, I guess because this was one of the later releases and there wasn't really enough material to give it its own release. So they put everything they had of that story on here in a sort of feature-length style compilation that gives you more or less the complete story. Then we have story number 7, The Censorites. Very nice. I'm not going to take too long to go through these here. And then we have The Reign of Terror, story number 8. And this was actually the final story of season 1. And this one was a 6-parter, of which they have 4 of the 6 episodes. So the remaining 2 episodes they actually animated using the existing audio tracks, and then doing just 2D black and white animation to bring those episodes back to life. Here we have Planet of Giants, story number 9, 2nd season premiere. Now this is pretty interesting because Planet of Giants was originally going to be a 4-part story, but it was truncated down to 3 parts. So this actually contains a reconstruction and sort of recreation of the 4-part version. Now it includes the televised, 3-part version as well. Sorry about that. But it also includes basically a reconstruction of what would have been parts 3 and 4 to wrap up the story rather than just part 3. So it was headed up by Ian Levine, and he got all the surviving actors to reprise their roles and to do the voices of their characters. It's not animated. It actually uses footage from the existing show, and so it's kind of a strange reconstruction. But then it has an actor who does a dead-on impersonation of William Hartnell doing the voice of William Hartnell for his lines and such. So you basically get as close as you can get to what it would have been like as a 4-part story, and it actually does fill in some gaps in the story that were kind of left fans scratching their heads in the original version. So definitely worth checking that out. And then we have the Dalek Invasion of Earth, which is probably one of my favorites of the classic Dalek stories. I think it's just a great story that holds up really well today. Some terrific genuine peril for the characters, and sadly the swan song of Susan was wonderful. And then we have a double bill of stories 11 and 12, The Rescue and The Romans. So The Rescue, of course, introduced Vicky, and The Romans was a wonderful, fun historical story in which the Doctor meets up with Nero. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek historical story. You have like Nero chasing Barbara around and stuff like that. It's pretty funny. And then we have The Web Planet, which was a pretty ambitious story. I don't know that they carried it off particularly well, but there's some interesting ideas in there. And then we have a double bill of The Space Museum and The Chase. The Space Museum kind of gets unfairly pooped on by fans, I think. It was meant to be very tongue-in-cheek, but it didn't come off as well in the televised version. If you read the novelization, it actually makes a lot more sense as to what the comedic intent was, I think. But yeah, I like it. And then The Chase, of course, is the final story of season 2, in which we meet Stephen Taylor, and also basically the swan song of Barbara and Ian, and thus the last remnants of the original TARDIS crew are gone. I should mention also there's a moment in The Chase in the first episode where they're looking at this time projector thing, which basically lets them view on a television screen different periods in history. And there's a scene there where they're looking at an old performance by the Beatles. Now, in this version, the Region 1 DVD, that scene is cut out for rights reasons. They only got the rights to put it on the UK release. So that scene and anything referring to that scene is removed. So you're missing about 4 minutes of the episode on the Region 1 version. So that's kind of annoying. I'll talk about that again in a moment here. Well, actually, no, I'll tell you right now. Because here we have the Region 2 release of the Space Museum and The Chase. Now, in this case, just to give you an idea of kind of the differences with the Region 2 releases. So this is actually a box set. And the cover design is quite a bit different on these. So as you can see, we basically got the artwork for the Chase. So we didn't even get Space Museum artwork on ours. But this is the full uncut version that I just mentioned. So this has everything on it. So this is completely uncut. And yeah, the spines look different. You don't get the episode, like the story numbers on these. But what you do get is these nice little booklets about the shows. It gives you a little bit more information. So it's quite nice. A little bit more discard as well, I notice. we don't actually get that much discard on the Region 1 releases. And then Space Museum, yeah, we also get an insert there. So yeah, I mean, there's pluses and minuses to both. I mean, I know a lot of people say they prefer the Region 2 sets. I mean, I prefer the Region 2 sets simply because you don't get the, the rights issues that prevent stuff from being seen, and also you get the nice little booklets with them. The one thing I have an issue with, though, is I do kind of prefer how the spines line up on the Region 1 versions. Like, if you look here, the Region 2, they're all different colors and stuff. But some might argue, well, that makes it nicer because you get more variety. But I don't know. The other problem is some of the stories in the British releases are grouped together, but not chronologically. And I like to have all the stories chronological. So, yeah, it kind of makes it difficult to do that. So, carrying on, we have the Time Meddler, which is the first time we meet another one of the Doctor's people. Now, they're not called Time Lords at this point. We still don't know anything about the Time Lords, but that part of the lore had not been written yet, I guess. But this guy's obviously another Time Lord. Some fans have speculated he's an early version of the Master. I don't know about that, but I think he's a similar, kind of roguish Time Lord along the lines of the Master. So that's a really fun story. That's story 17. Now we start to get to some gaps in the collection. So we more or less had a solid run up to story 17. Now we have story 23, the Ark. Now remember, of course, we do have All That Remains of story 18 over on the Aztec Special Edition. So you know this is the point where you would want to watch that, right after the Time Meddler. So then you got the Ark, which is quite nice. That's a good kind of time travel story there as well. We got the Gunfighters, which is one of the fans' least favorites. It's story 25. And then we have story 27, the War Machines, which is great. This was there was a lot of stuff cut out of this for a very long time, and then it was a lot of the missing footage was recovered from, I think, various censorship places all over the world, and reinstated. So this is the most complete version that exists of the War Machines. There's not a ton missing. I mean, the story's complete. It's just there was snips and trims here and there. And then finally we have story number 29, the 10th Planet. Now this is quite a deluxe edition because the final episode is actually missing. So back in the day when they were releasing all these on VHS, they put out a special edition of the 10th Planet, which had a photo and clip reconstruction of the 4th episode. That reconstruction is included here, and then they also have a fully animated version of the final episode as well. That is also included here. So this is the most deluxe edition ever released, and of course very notable in that it has the first regeneration ever. So you do have in the animated version, it does have an animated version of the regeneration, but in the reconstruction and as its own clip, you actually have the full regeneration. So you can see it as it originally appeared. And then here finally we have the Lost in Time collection for the first Doctor, which basically contains all of the orphaned episodes and incomplete stuff. It has all the material that exists for the Crusade, which is story number 14. So I should mention there was one gap in there. But so it has the 2 existing episodes, the complete audio of the 2 missing episodes, and it has the special introduction and bridging segments by William Russell in character as Ian Chesterton, sort of narrating the events of the missing episodes. In addition to that, it also has... what is it here? You've got the 2 existing episodes from the Daleks Master Plan, and there's also some clips as well, and the 1 existing episode from the Celestial Toy Maker. So basically you have 5 orphaned episodes here total. Is it 5? Yeah, I think it's 5. Yeah, so pretty good stuff. It's too bad that more, or is it 3? No, I think 3 episodes exist of the Daleks Master Plan. 2, 5, and 7, something like that. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. Anyway, all the existing ones are on here. At the time, episode 2 had just been recently rediscovered, and that was a notable one because it was actually Nicholas Courtney, his first appearance in Doctor Who as Brett Vion. Now, he, of course, later became a series regular for a number of years as Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart. Great stuff. This is a wonderful collection. I really enjoy it a lot, especially it's nice to have all the material for the Crusade on there. I keep hoping that they'll release the Crusade special edition, much like what they did for Reign of Terror, where they'll animate the remaining 2 episodes. Honestly, I don't know why they haven't. Maybe it's because all of the existing material is here, and if you kind of go through it in a particular order, you'll get the complete story. So next up, we have some VHS releases. So once again, we have the Crusade. Yeah, so this time we have the Crusade paired up with the Space Museum. This is a special collector's edition, and it includes an audio CD that has the audio for the 2 missing episodes. And if we open it up here, there we go. So what else is in here? I did a video about these a while ago, so if you want, you can go and check out my the band goes right through his face. But anyway, you can check out that video. And just one second here. Yeah, so I'll just show you. So we've got the CD. It just comes in a little booklet, basically. So audio CD and some information about the show. Quite nice. This is a really good one. This actually is a really fantastic historical, with what's his face, Julian Glover as as King Richard. He is just amazing in that. Yeah, so just be a moment here. I'm just going to put all this back together. Trying. Hold on, I'm trying to... Sorry, you can't see. I'm struggling here trying to get the stupid CD back in. So I just had it in with the slipcover there because it won't really fit inside the case. Okay, there we go. And then put that back there. So yeah, I mean, even though it's basically redundant because I've got all the material on the DVD, it's just such a nice addition and a nice display piece. I thought, hey, you know what, I'm going to keep that. It's just kind of nice. And then also we have this here. It's kind of an early version of the Lost in Time DVD. So this is a VHS tape. This is part of the so-called Years series. They were doing ones, retrospectives on all the Doctors. So this is a retrospective of the first Doctor, featuring, again, some orphaned episodes and some rarities, hosted by the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, which is great stuff. So this is a very nice collection. Again, it's kind of been made redundant by the DVD releases, but it's still pretty cool. What do we got on here? We have the original unaired pilot version of An Unearthly Child, which was, at the time, kind of a rarity. You actually get that and some further alternate takes on the Lost in Time set now, so it's kind of redundant there. And then you've got episode 3 of The Crusade, so we have The Crusade again, and The Final Test, which is the final episode of The Celestial Toymaker. I guess, wow, that actually shows how old this is, because at the time that this VHS tape came out, they did not have episode 1 of The Crusade. That was discovered a few years later. And then we have Cybermen, the early years. This is mostly 2nd Doctor stories, so we will be talking about this one again in the next one. So this is some early Cybermen episodes, again, from, orphaned episodes from Incomplete Stories, presented by Colin Baker, the 6th Doctor himself. So on here we've got the first appearance of the Cybermen in episode 1 of the 10th Planet, plus their first words in episode 2. We've got some clips from Tomb of the Cybermen and the Invasion. That's only clips. Actually, yeah, it's only clips from the 10th Planet, Tomb of the Cybermen, and the Invasion. And then 4 full episodes. We've got 2 episodes of the Moon Base and 2 episodes of the Wheel in Space. We'll talk about those more in the next one when we talk about the 2nd Doctor. So that's it for the DVDs. So now we get into the Target books, the Target novelizations. So I'm just going to go through these fairly quickly here. So we've got An Unearthly Child, novelization of the first story. Very nice. And this was actually the first Doctor Who novelization ever written. So format-wise, it's quite different. We have Doctor Who and the Daleks. The whole thing is written in first person from Ian Chesterton's perspective, and presents quite a different origin story for how the TARDIS crew got together. Then book 3, for whatever reason, when I was buying these, I couldn't find the paperback anywhere, and when I did find it, it was prohibitively expensive, so it was actually cheaper to get the hardcover edition. So I got the hardcover edition of story number 3, The Edge of Destruction. There we go. Quite nice. Of course, since getting that, I've been seeing the paperback everywhere, going for reasonable prices. So Then we got story number 4, Marco Polo. Kind of notable in that it does not exist in any form. There aren't even clips from it. There's only the audio and photographs. And then we have story number 5, The Keys of Marinus. And then we have The Aztecs. And The Censorites. And The Reign of Terror, written by Ian Marter, who of course played Harry Sullivan in the Fourth Doctor's era. I gotta say, this book was so damn good. Like, this is one of the best novelizations I've read so far. Ian Marter really did a fantastic job. And then we have story number 9, Planet of Giants. I've not got around to reading this one yet. I'm kind of curious if it bases it on the 3-episode version of the story or the 4-episode version of the story. The whole thing is written in ridiculously large print, so I'm thinking probably the 3-episode version. And then we have the Dalek Invasion of Earth. Really awesome cover there. I gotta say, a lot of these books have really nice painted covers as well. And then we have The Rescue, another one by Ian Marter. You'll see the name Terrence Dicks quite a bit on these. He was basically the most prolific author. He wrote a good chunk of them. We got The Romans. Very nice. And then this was another one of the earliest adaptations of Doctor Who. We have Doctor Who and the Zarbi, which is an adaptation of the Web Planet. And then we have Doctor Who and the Crusaders. Yeah, so the Daleks, the Zarbi, and the Crusaders were the first 3 stories ever novelized for Doctor Who, and they were actually originally published by a different publisher. And then when Target picked it up, the first thing they did was they reprinted all 3 of them. You know, easy money, the books were already written. And then they proceeded to adapt further stories. And then we have the Space Museum, which I was mentioning earlier. If you've only ever seen the televised version, you owe it to yourself to read the book, because it's actually written by Glyn Jones, the same fellow who wrote the televised story. And it makes the humor of the story a lot more apparent, and I think it really gets unfairly maligned. And then we have The Chase. It's a really nice cover. And then The Time Meddler. Oh, looking nice and menacing. And then Galaxy 4. Really love these painted covers. And then The Myth Makers. And then I'm missing the next one, which would be the Daleks Master Plan Part 1. I do have Part 2, The Mutation of Time. This got a really low print run, so it tends to go for a fair, pretty penny. And the version I got cheap because it was a little bit water damaged, so kind of annoying. I really wish they'd get some kind of a reprint or something, but yeah. And then the next one after that I'm missing is The Massacre. So basically just that one little chunk of stories there, Daleks Master Plan Part 1 and The Massacre, I still need. And then we have The Ark. And The Celestial Toymaker. The Gunfighters, which I'm imagining works better as a novelization because we won't have to listen to that god-awful song over and over and over and over and over again. I guess if you really wanted to, you could play the soundtrack while you're reading the book. I'm sure that wouldn't be distracting at all. Anyone who's seen that story knows what I'm talking about. And then we have The Savages. That's actually kind of a cool, moody picture of the Doctor there. I like that. It's nice. There we go. This one actually has this weird plastic cover on it. I'm guessing it was a library book or something. But yeah, I can't take it off. I think I can take off this part, but I can't take off the back because it's actually glued on. So it's a little bit annoying. Like, thanks for protecting the cover, but now I can't ever get it out. So, and we got The War Machines. These ones with the Seventh Doctor logo on them were printed quite a bit later in the run, like we're talking like late 80s, early 90s, and tended to have much lower print runs than the earlier ones. The ones with the diamond logo and the, what is that? Do I even have any with the, I don't have any pre-diamond logo ones. But the ones with the diamond logo and the earlier 70s logo and the neon logo all tend to have had larger print runs or a lot of reprints, so they tend to be more widely available and cheaper to get now on the aftermarket, whereas the ones with the with the Seventh Doctor logo on them tend to have had lower print runs and tend to go for more, which is kind of unfortunate. Here we go, and this is a much later edition from I think it's still from Target, but it's the so-called blue spine ones. They did a bunch of reprints like that, so this is like the last batch of reprints, I think, from 1993, if I'm not mistaken. 93, yeah. So in 1993 they did like one last run of reprints, and then Target's license ran out and Virgin got the license and didn't reprint very much of the stories at all. And there we go. It isn't until more recently, like around the 50th anniversary, we started to see reprints of some of the stories. And then finally we have the 10th Planet. There we go. So, an almost complete collection. It's very frustrating to be too shy of having all of them. But I'll track them down eventually. I mean, I keep an eye out on the used bookstores. I know a lot of my viewers have kind of been keeping an eye out on my behalf as well, and I really appreciate that. So, yeah, so that is it. That is all of the First Doctor stuff. So, a pretty good run there, I think. So there you go. That's the entire First Doctor collection. All that I have so far. Yeah, so virtually complete. I just need a couple of Target books, and then I'll basically have the whole works. So pretty cool stuff. Alrighty, so next time we'll take a look at all of my Second Doctor stuff. So until then, thanks very much for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors, and sayonara.